AITA for choosing my husband over my brother's fiancée after her prank went too far. My brother 32M and his fiancée 31F recently came to visit us in our city. My partner and I are new homeowners, and they were staying with us for the first time. My brother's fiancée loves Halloween. She is also a Disney adult and has a childlike side to her which comes out sometimes. She's just super involved, absorbed, when it comes to her interests. Anyway, I'm just sharing this for context because my perspective is that she often gets carried away, and I genuinely feel what I am going to describe was the result of one of those moments where she just took it too far and suffered some negative consequences. She is, however, taking it as a very personal attack. So we disagree, and the disagreement resulted in my husband cutting their visit short, aka they were asked to leave. 31F has made comments more than few times now since meeting him that my husband gives off a dark vibe. She is always comparing him to characters from various books she reads. It's not necessarily criticism. She always explains that they are compliments. Well, I'm not sure anymore. Her reasons for these comparisons are based on his looks, the general vibe he gives off, and his tattoo. He only has one, but it's on his hand. During this recent visit, she mentioned she would love to see someone like him get scared because she can't imagine him getting startled or letting out a scream. Scaring him became her goal during her stay with us. None of us knew about it, not even my brother. The incident causing all the trouble is that she tried to jump scare my husband in the garage. It was dark, and she ambushed him in the garage while wearing a full outfit and mask when he was returning from a run. Well, he didn't let out the scream she wanted. He instinctively reacted by shoving her against the wall. She hit her head and was quite shaken up. Luckily, he realized very quickly by the sound she made that it likely wasn't an intruder. He switched the lights on and pulled her mask off. He told me he was very confused in the moment. Why would she attack him? My husband helped her inside, apologized, made her tea, and then called me. I was out with my brother. When we got home, I asked 31F if she was okay, and I said her prank was stupid to do because she could have gotten seriously hurt. I don't know if it was what I said that bothered her, or if she was just waiting for her partner to come home, but she launched into crying about how my husband used an excessive amount of force, knowing it was most likely her just doing a harmless prank. In a nutshell, my husband asked her straightforwardly, "Are you implying I intentionally assaulted you?" She hesitated but chose to say yes, and my husband responded to that with, "Get out of my house." I tried to smooth it, but my husband was adamant if that's what she genuinely believes, she's not welcome to stay. 31F chose to stick to her accusation. I decided to side with my husband. My brother is angry with me. He thinks I should have tried to do damage control and let them stay by convincing my husband to lean more into apologizing and placating his fiancée, who was just recovering from the situation. He thinks this whole thing would have blown over if I'd helped my husband fold. I find this unfair. My brother was counting on me to handle all this, yet he didn't speak up during the conversation or try to talk sense into his fiancée. My husband remained calm the entire time, but he obviously felt insulted by her remarks, and I think that's valid. Why should I have taken my brother's fiancée's side over my own husband? Especially when I feel like she was wrong for doing all that, then turning around and accusing my husband of wanting to hurt her. My brother says I was short-sighted and should think of their upcoming wedding, but I think he is the one who needs to get his fiancée to apologize to my husband. Update 1. I got a lot of messages requesting an update. I have never made one before, so I hope I am going about this correctly. To recap my previous post, my 25F brother's fiancée, 31F, decided to jump scare my husband, 30M, in our dark garage because she wanted to get a reaction from him and possibly hear him scream. As ridiculous as it sounds, this is the only motive we have been able to get out of her. My husband responded to her jump scare by instinctively shoving her against the wall. Luckily for her, he heard her voice and recognized that it wasn't an intruder. He apologized to her in that moment, helped her inside, and calmed her down. He told me he was gentle and understanding, but once she was seated and started to calm down, he made it very clear to her that her actions were reckless and could have led to serious harm. It's my personal opinion that she didn't like the change in his demeanor and being told off because it meant she was no longer the victim, but the transgressor. In a shitty attempt to get herself out of the hot seat, she decided to accuse my husband of using excessive force, implying that he intentionally assaulted her. even though she was the one who initiated the whole situation. This led to an emotional reaction from my brother and heightened the tension between him and my husband. My husband was zero tolerance about the theatrics, FSIL and hysterics, and my brother getting riled up about it. He kicked them both out. You can read the details of the first post here. Update 2. I tried to talk to my brother multiple times after the incident, but each attempt ended in silence because I refused to give in to his demands. He wanted my husband and me to apologize to his fiancée, starting with me downplaying the whole situation so she wouldn't feel bad about her prank. I hesitated to send him the Reddit post I'd made. Initially, I thought it might work against us to make things worse. But his total inability to reason with me or see the situation for what it was became beyond frustrating. Since I couldn't physically deliver a cold, hard slap to his face for asking me to be complacent in allowing my husband to be falsely accused of assault, I figured the next best thing would be for him to read all your comments. Following the advice I got here, I tried to get ahead of the situation by informing my parents. My dad, a reasonable and practical man, immediately sided with my husband. His comments were similar to what a lot of people here had said, focusing on how dangerous and reckless the prank was and the ramifications of being falsely accused of assault. My mom, who unfortunately has always favored my brother, suggested we at least hear her out, referring to my brother's fiancée. As livid as I was about her reaction, I wasn't surprised by it. My dad did try to shut down her skepticism, but she remained on my brother's side for a few days, until I showed them footage from my brother's Tesla, which he had tried to delete. The Sentry thing, sorry if I'm using the terminology incorrectly, I'm not a Tesla owner, recorded part of the interaction in the garage, not the jump scare itself. But the aftermath, which was more crucial. My husband's account was confirmed. He used a measured amount of force to immobilize her and was prepared to escalate if necessary, which is beyond generous for someone to do in a situation like that, and definitely not owed. Many of you speculated that she might have a fixation or even a crush on my husband, and I'm starting to reconsider some past interactions with that in mind. I also misunderstood what dark books she expressed she enjoyed and compared my fiancé to. I learned from comments here that they are actually a subtype of the romance genre. I didn't know she was comparing him to characters in romance novels, because one of the characters I recall her comparing my husband to was from a book about dragons. I genuinely wish I still remembered the names of various characters she's mentioned over the months, so I could satisfy my own curiosity, but my brain glossed over the names during conversations. We have a group chat for the wedding, which includes my brother, my parents, my brother's fiancée, and her parents. In that chat, I addressed the incident but didn't share the Tesla footage, only mentioned that it exists. Her parents didn't respond in the chat, though I know they saw the message. Later, her mom called mine. Apparently, they had no idea about the prank. It's hard to say whether they believe me or if they've taken their daughter's side after speaking with her. My brother's fiancée and my brother have both extended apologies to my husband and have requested our presence at their upcoming wedding. My parents, trying to keep the peace, have encouraged us to go, saying it's the honorable thing to do. So, for the sake of family formality, we've decided to attend. However, my husband has made it clear that we'll be there out of obligation. We will be keeping a distance from them going forward. We haven't explicitly stated it, but there will be no future invitations to our home, not even for the holiday dinner we had planned before all this happened. My husband is going to minimize all future interaction with my brother's fiancée. I don't think we'll ever trust her again. I'll try to spend some one-on-one time with my brother to gauge where we stand. Our relationship feels strained, and this incident has made me realize that I lost him to her long before this happened, something I hadn't fully recognized until now. Thanks to everyone for sharing your opinions. A reporter from a news outlet reached out to me, and I remember requesting that if anyone uses my story, I would like them to pass on the following sentiment. I hope that if you share my story, you can help highlight the dangers of ambush-style pranks. These types of pranks create a threatening environment and put everyone involved at risk of serious harm or injury. They are stupid and dangerous. No one should have to feel threatened or be put in a position where their safety is compromised for the sake of a prank. If that's the setup, then it's not a prank. Actions like these will always have consequences, some of which may be irreparable, and no prank is worth the risk of someone getting hurt.